Often I get asked for my Death Guard painting recipe, and when I tell people, they're really surprised at how quick and simple it is to achieve these results. This style can easily be carried out over a whole army. It works for single models, vehicles and batches and can all be completed within an hour. To me, nothing beats the feeling of a fully painted and themed army, and I'm going to share the recipe with you. I have my Typhus model based in black. I take the sponge that I've picked some more holes in, I mix 2 parts orange and 1 part black and give them a quick mix. Now this gives a warm brown that will hold the rust tones a lot better. I mean, you could use a brown, but I like to mix my own paints for slight variations. And I don't mix them all the way through sometimes when I need it. Now, don't push, pull or drag the sponge because it makes the model look kind of flat. What I do is just dab the paint over about 80% coverage over the model. Now I keep looking to make sure some of the paint pulls away from the model when I remove the sponge. This gives a textured appearance. After a while, the model should be dry enough to start on the Death Guard green. Pure from the pot with no water. I'll repeat the same process with the sponge this time, keeping mainly to large flat surfaces and raised edges. This time covering about 50% of the brown mix that's already on the model. Next stage is rinse and repeat. This time I'm using white for the most raised areas and large flat surfaces. I cover about 50% of the green. Now honestly, I'm a bit more generous with the white if I'm trying to reflect a more Horus Heresy style. Okay, I check over the model before I move on to Stormhost Silver. When I use the silver, it will enhance the edges and effectively it would allow some of the rust to look sheared away over time. Now the brighter the silver versus the darkest areas, it will enhance the contrast and promote the decay. So I suggest only dabbing at the highest points. Maybe on the edges you want to work about maybe 70 to 80% on the edges and only 5% on the flat surfaces. Make sure to come back in with a brush with the silver just on the highest edges, on the hardest edges, and just hold your brush about a 45-degree angle against the model and just move it along. It should be easy to create. Now is the fun part. Let's get back to the rust. Use the orange. I'm going to use the orange that I used to mix a brown with. And I'll focus on the inside and under areas of the model, where the water will have collected over time. The weapon will also get the same treatment. Take your time and don't rush. Just always stop to have a look to see what you're doing and if it's okay. Add as much as you want. Next I'll move on to the washes and I start with Athonian Camoshade. I'm going to be using this mainly in the recesses, on the cloth and over the largest silver areas. The idea is that this wash will act as a glaze. I work in some Rakarth flesh into the rusted areas and that gives a warm effect which carries on not just in the main part of where the area is rusted but also moves it out a little. Once the washes are dry, I'll come back in with a little bit more silver on the sharper edges to give it back its contrast. Next is a more trickier part and I suggest you take your time. I'll start with some brushwork and use a gold. You could use any gold you want. but make sure to water it down so it's more like a tint. The reason I do this is to allow the detailing, the chipping under effect to come through. It allows it to look more pitted overall. And I do the same with the copper area, pipes, vents and weapon. Edges is one of the last things we're going to do to make sure we've got our base. And what I do is use silver on the edges with a brush, again about a 45-degree angle, so contact is minimal. And when I want to add scratches, I flick the brush towards the edges when I want to give more of a damaged appearance. And it's almost done. The last thing I want to do to enhance the contrast is to use a wash mix. And what I do is I mix 25% of Agrax Earthshade and 75% Athonian Camoshade. And what I do is only put it in the darkest areas and in areas that need a bit more detail. I come back in to add the details. For the bone, the cloth, the skull, I use Zandri dust and then use a yellow glaze on the organic looking areas. Lastly, I pick out the smaller details like the eyes and the lenses, sticking to the glazing technique. And that's it. Completed and finished. And now that I've finished Nurgle's great work, apparently he decides to clear up the blessings he left earlier on this week with me. Hence the clearer voice. But look, I've enjoyed my time as always. I hope you enjoy yours, and I hope you enjoy using this technique. Either way, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you all again soon. And PC out.